Suresh, shall we start, Suresh?
Yeah, we will start, sir. I'm trying to share my,
PowerPoint slides.
yeah.
Okay. But good morning to all, to the participants who have been with us in the third day session, where Dr. G. Suresh, a small brief about him. He was working as an assistant professor of electronics and communication engineering at Bannari Amman Institute of Technology. He has published more than 12 articles in reputed journals and delivered a lecture and handled hands-on sessions in more than 5 workshops. And he won Young Scientist Award at Indian Plant Science Congress 2019, organized by SRM Institute of Science and Technology, and Best Innovation Award at Indian Plant Science Congress 2019 for devising a device that detects a leaf disease in plants. And he is one among the 40 startups made in BIAC, the Social Alpha Quest for Assistive Technology, supported by Emphasis, hosted by Tata Trust. And he has got a Best Startup Award of SATI under AICTE at India International Science Festival. He is one among top 3 startups, among 300 established startups in Swadeshi Startup Smith, hosted by Unnat Bharat Abhiyan at IIT Delhi. And he is also the exhibitor of in Canada's exhibition on India Women Accelerated Program organized by AICTE in 2019. Apart from that, Sandhya and Suresh, who have been co-founders for Parcelet Image Labs. This is one of the image labs which is working mainly on image processing and NLP, natural language processing, and other things. They have, that is, this image lab developed an assistive technology products, and they specialize on those products called Prakash. This is one of their products which supports an AI-powered assistant. It is an intelligent assistant device that enables a blind to read and learn independently without human assistance. And this is a product for which MHRD and AICTE and other funding agencies also, for which DST also supported them. This lab, they mainly concentrate on the products which are being helpful for visually challenged and other things. This is a small brief about Suresh, who is not only working in the academics, but also one of the co-founders of the Parcelet Image Labs. Sandhya is already known to the participants already who have been in during the first 2 sessions of the first day. So both of them will be joining us and will be taking the class. The first session, Dr. G. Suresh, and he also will continue this. Today's sessions will be continued by Suresh and Sandhya. So this is all overall view about today's session. So the sessions of today's will be covered at dimensionality reduction, decision tree, feature engineering with the project demo. So with this few words, I request Dr. J. Suresh, please to carry on with the third day sessions for the participants. And I think the participants will be participate lively, and Suresh will make the classes more lively. Thank you all. Suresh, it's you to start.
Yeah, sure, sir. Thank you, sir. So my screen is visible, sir?
It's visible, please.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, good morning to all. So today, today's session, we are going to see about, we are going to talk about the first day itself. We are planned actually, but unfortunately, I can't take that particular topic. So today's session, I try to cover the mathematics and machine learning. Along with that, I try to interpret how the mathematics footprint is actually impressed strongly in the machine learning applications, as well as the machine learning algorithm designs. I try to interpret, I try to map the mathematic concepts to our machine learning algorithms, where it is potentially used and where we have to concentrate more, and which part is we have to interpret more by using our mathematical techniques. We will see in this session, right? So after the, along with this, we are trying to do a feature engineering process, because I hope so yesterday the participants are exposed in the machine learning design cycle operations. I hope so you people are seeing the chart of the machine learning life cycle. So in that particular life cycle, we always starts with the features. Okay, so far we are in this after completed this particular session or this particular part, we are trying to start the feature engineering operations. After that, we are going one by one. We are going to see the two important algorithms in the machine learning, naive Bayes and the decision tree, as well as we are going to see the dimensionality reduction. What is the importance of a dimensionality reductions in a machine learning? And then what are all the important techniques which is used in the dimensionality reduction? So we will see one by one. So in this regards, so in the first session, we are trying to show what are all the mathematics, or what are all the technical, that means the the computational part which is presented in our machine learning algorithms. We will see that. So in this scenarios, I try to cover the 4 different legs of the mathematics. We can say is 4 different important streams in the mathematics, like, you know, linear algebra, multivariate calculus, probability, and statistics. These 4 key important mathematical streams which is used to develop a proper ML algorithms. Even while we are developing a simple algorithm itself, with the help of, without the help of this concepts, we can't do anything in our machine learning. Okay, we will see that one by one, how it actually helps to representing, how it actually takes away takes our ML algorithm to reach a real world in the effective manner. We will see that. So this is our introduction to mathematics for machine learning. So let us see, aspiring at machine learning engineers often tends to ask, what is the use of mathematics for machine learning? When we have a computer to do it all the different process, all the different computations, so then why we need a machine learning? Why we need this particular algorithms or designs or artificial intelligence? What is a major need of this? So why we need to know all the mathematical concepts? Because you know, nowadays we are actually, so much of the technologies is developed, so many intelligence systems, so many assistive systems are evolved. Then why we need to understand, why we need to manipulate, why we need to calculate all these values? Because, you know, while we are calculating something, while we are computing something, our machines actually computes in the nanosecond. But while as a human, if we are sit and compute some mathematical concepts, we are trying to solve some mathematical problems, we take even a hour or even a week also to solve the proper mathematics, right? But one thing is, we have to keep it in our mind, a computer doesn't know anything to do a process without our knowledge. So the algorithm can't infer the knowledge until we tell something into the computer. So we have to exploit our data, we have to exploit our knowledge, we have to exploit our experience in the data, in the available raw data, or in the available raw experience to a computer. Then only computer able to solve the real world problems. So far we have to see, or we have to solve, we have to touch the mathematics to produce the strong concepts or algorithm to solve our real world problems. We will see that. So look at here. So this is actually the pie chart representation or illustration of the 4 legs of the mathematics which is used in our machine learning applications or to developing a machine learning model. So in this particular representation, we can easily understood that how the linear algebra plays a predominant role compared to the other the other techniques or the other streams of the mathematical backgrounds, right? So far, the linear algebra, it covers in the machine cycle. That means in the machine learning life cycle, the linear algebra covers a 35 percentage of operations, whereas followed by the linear algebra, that statistics and the probability covers 25% of a portion to develop an algorithm as well as to develop a proper efficient machine learning model. We will see one by one while we are moving into the machine learning model, how the small each and every small things from the linear algebra and from the multivariate calculus and from the statistics and the probability, how it actually plays a predominant role and how it is actually exploiting the data in the effective way. We will see in the upcoming slides. So first, we quick starts with our linear algebra. So naturally, we say it's a part of a maths which is used to most in the machine learning applications. Or we can also say that it is used to develop the machine learning algorithms. That is a important thing. And moreover, it helps to optimize the machine learning model. It's not only it's actually giving the hands to build the model, it try to generalize the model well, because while we are making a model itself, we can't use or we can't explore the data in the well manner. We have to form the model in the generalized way. Okay, so the second important role of the linear algebra is actually optimization. So it optimizes well the model, so in such a way the model it's capable enough to explore all the data in the effective way to solve the real world problems. And moreover, this linear algebra, it helps to perform the operations on the raw data in the better way and utilizing the hardwares in the efficient manner to manipulate in the data and trying to extract the patterns from the raw data right? So this is a three-way how the linear algebra helps us to develop the ML algorithms. So first we start with the scalars, because always you know while we are speaking about the linear algebra, we can't go with without the scalars, vectors, and as well as the matrices. We can't go with the directly go with the operations or advanced advanced manipulation conditions and all. Fine. So we starts with the scalars. So what is actually the scalar and how it actually looks and what are all the operation it supports, and we will see. So this is a pattern I planned. So this is a way we have to cover all the topics, like scalars, vectors, and then the matrices and all. Okay, and along with that we try to map the each and every applications which is in the real time we are using this techniques. Okay, so in the first we say it's a scalar. Scalar is just a value that representing something, like suppose I'm going to sell a laptop. So I'm going to say the price, I am quantifying in the form of it's my price is of 50,000. So 50,000, it says that it is a quantifiable price or value of my laptop, right? So in such a way, while I'm going to buy a laptop as well as the accessories in the, so this is actually the two cases, right? I am going to buy a laptop as well as the accessory of the particular laptop. So in this scenario, I can say is I am buying a laptop and accessories is the addition of prices. Am I right? So here you can see 50,000 is the price of laptop, whereas the 5,000 is the price of accessories. So what is the total price? So it's a 55,000. Suppose we are going to buy a laptop in the online market. Okay, so we are having so many discount, the flat discounts are available right now, right? So we can say is that we are going to buy a laptop at a 50% discount. So what is the total price of the laptop? It's a 50,000, and after that means the 50% discount. So buying a laptop at a 50% discount, so the principal price is actually comes down into a 25,000. So look at this particular operation or representation of the scalars, so this is evidence that scalar supports all the different kind of arithmetic operations. So this is how we can understand scalars supports all the manipulation operations, and then it's actually quantifiably represented with the single value. Whatever the operations we are doing, if we are adding, subtracting, or dividing, whatever the thing, it just represented the single value or quantifiable value, we can say. So this is the nature of the scalar. So let us go to the vector, right? Um, so in this linear vectors or a linear algebra, I'm going to cover a vectors. It's actually a little bit tedious compared to your scalar. Am I right? Not only in the representation, not only in the explanation, it's actually tedious for even in the manipulation devices also, right? So here I try to define about the vectors with the three different experts. So what about the perspective of the vectors with the three different domain or experts? So first people, that's a computer science, the people from the computer science can say that, so computer science people can interpret the vector as a list of numbers that representing something, whereas in the physicist is actually considering the vector to be a scalar with the direction, and it is a independent of the plane. Whereas in case of a mathematician, so mathematician takes a vector to be a combination of both and try to generalize it for everyone, right? All the three things is actually too good, and it's actually holds good for the characteristics of the vector. Am I right? I agree with all these three definitions. So this three definition is holds good for our machine learning application. This three perspective is actually holds good for our machine learning algorithm development, right? We are going to take all these three perspectives. We are trying to build, or we are trying to exploit the proper machine learning algorithm, right? For our for solving the real world applications. Let us see here the representation of the vector, how we are representing the vector in the nature, right? So here I try to represent it in the form of, so r cap, the arrow mark indicates the direction of the vector, whereas the r cap indicates the magnitude value of the vector. So here I try to represent the one of the column vector 10, 20 and minus 2.13. So this is a one kind of a representation of the vectors. So we can easily understood that it's a collection of scalar, right? Just a minute, guys. Hello. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Yeah. Fine. So back to the session. So here how the vector is actually represented, we can easily understood that how it is represented. So it may be represented in the column wise, or it may be in the representative of row wise. That is what I try to say. Here we are defined in the three different way. The three different experts are defines the vectors, but three definitions are holds good for developing our machine learning applications, our algorithms, we can say. So now we are going to, so once if we are defined the vectors and the nature of the vectors, we are going to see the what are all the operations it holds good for the vectors, right? So first initially we starts with the vector additions, how it supports to the addition operations. So quite naturally, if you see a addition of two scalar, it's not exactly same as a vector. That means the vector addition is totally entirely different compared to our natural scalar additions. Am I right? So far, so the adding of two vector is not a simple arithmetic operations. So let us consider the two vector v1 and v2. So in this two vectors, I try to add these two vectors in such a way that I'm going to present the addition of the two vectors in the form of quantifiable manner, right? So which means the total work done is achieved by the two vectors can be done by adding the v1 plus v2. So this addition operation, after we performed this addition operation, it's actually represented in the form of a quantifiable way, right? So this is how the addition operations are done in your vectors. So next is our scalar multiplication. So vector in the vectors, it actually supports our scalar multiplication operations. So let us consider we are having a vector v1. Okay. So whenever the vector is actually multiplied with the scalar, so what it creates an impact. It's actually multiplied with the scale, multiplied with the scalar. What happens? Either it grows the vector or it shrinks the vector. This is the impact it's created while we are multiplying the scalar value into the vectors, right? So this growing or shrinking is actually depends on the polarity of, or it directly proportional to the polarity of your scalar values. If the scalar value is actually negative, what happen? It shrinks your vectors. In this diagram I represented, our scalar value is a positive, so far it actually grows, right? So in the next representation I try to shows the how the vector is shrinked while we are multiplied with the negative scalar values, right? So this is actually the projections. So after I actually I try to cover the basics here, and I try to map this operation where these operations are actually we are performed in our ML algorithm. Fine. In the upcoming slides, I try to map each and every operations. Right. Yes. This projection is actually a very, very important operation in our linear algebra. Why I can say like that? Let us consider a vector once again. A vector v1 and v2 I represented here with the xy plot, whereas a v1 is actually the unknown vector. We doesn't know any kind of information, any kind of features about the vector v1, whereas we understand or we well known the vector v2. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to make use of the v2 to understand the features or understand the characteristics or a nature of the vector v1, right? In such a way we are utilizing both the features, or we are exploiting both the features to developing or to train the model in the effective way. Let us see here. So the projection is a shadow a vector placed on the other vectors. So the v1 is actually the shadow of v1 is we actually takes projected on the v2, right? So it's actually helps to analyzing the features of unknown vectors by using the known vector. Let us see here how we are projecting. We don't know anything about the v1, so we are not worried about that. We are trying to project the v1 on v2 because we know everything about a v2, the features of v2. So we are trying to extract the features about the v1, right? This is how the vector projections are happened in the mathematical operations, right? And the very, very important or a key factor, or we can say is, without this particular topic or without this particular part, we can't done any ML or AI algorithm in such a ways, right? Right now we are doing every operations in the supercomputers or a GPU process or TPU process, whatever the entire high level hardwares, it's actually manipulating, it's in the form of matrices. It utilizing in the form of matrices. All the operations are exploited in the form of a matrices operations, right? So then only so by using this way only we can properly utilize the available hardwares. We can properly utilize the hardware channels, right? So we can say matrices is a composition of a numbers, symbols or expressions in a rectangular array. Suppose we have two equations, 2x plus 2y is equal to 10, 4x plus y is equal to 18. So what we are going to do now, so we need to solve this equation trying to find the value of x and y. So how we are solving this equation? In olden days we are trying to solve because here we are having two equations, two unknown values. We can say that value, it may be a vector or a scalar, whatever it is. So we are solving this two equation. We are trying to form the value of x as well as the value of y. Am I right? So instead of that, what we are going to do now, we are use the matrices to convert our expression of a vector, a form to the array. Okay, so this makes the operation easier as that what we work with on computers. So this is the how the computer is manipulating the data inside in the processes, especially in the DSP processes. Look at here how we are representing in the form of a matrices, right? The linear equations, it's actually represented in the form of a matrices. We try to represent the magnitude value, as well as we try to represent the variable. It's like a x and y is equal to the equating value 10 and 18. So from this matrices onwards, I try to connect each and every operation with our applications, right? Then it is easy for us to convey this particular operations. So we can say as wow, it's a simple application. So every day we are watching this, every day we are manipulating this. So this operation is help us to bring such a technical solution for our day-to-day life problems. So we will see that one by one. So first we try to perform the matrix addition. So for this application, for this understanding purpose, I try to take the first matrices is actually the consider as a 2 cross 2 image. So why here I am trying to map an image to a matrices, because image is also a 2D plane, whereas a matrices is also a 2D plane. Am I right? It consists of rows as well as a column, right? So what is really happening here? We are trying to add the two images. Once if you are trying to, what's actually the image is actually the collection of pixels which is arranged in the form of rows and columns, right? So here considering the 2 cross 2 matrix, it's this first element is we can say it as a 1,1 pixel. The 1,1 is nothing but the index or position of the pixel. This is a 1,2 and this is a 1,3 and this is a 1,4. Okay, so now we are trying to add this two matrices, right? So what is the exact operation is done here? We are trying to enhancing or scaling the pixel values, or otherwise we can also say is that we are trying to embed one image on another image, right? So by this way we are doing the matrix addition. So whatever the additions we are seeing here, the similar thing is actually used in our image processing applications, right? So the very important key factor or key thing we have to keep it in our mind, whenever we are doing a matrix addition, matrix multiplication, whatever it is, we have to maintain the orders, right? Order is nothing but here I try to represent that means I try to represent the size of the matrices. If it is a 2 cross 2 matrices, the same 2 cross 2 matrices only possible to add. Okay, then only it supports for the addition operations. So that is we have to keep it in our mind. So in all the ML algorithm designs, in all the ML algorithm implementation, we are actually concerned about this matrix representation. Whatever the natural representation of the equations, the natural representation of the regression equation, natural representation of the classifier equation, whatever it is, the mathematical expressions are, we are trying to form it in the form of, that means we are represented in the form of matrices, right? That's I will try to connect at last why we are actually moving on to the matrices. So this is how the pixel manipulations are happen. So look at here, what is really happening? It's actually scaling the pixel values. So this is actually the matrix multiplication. Once again, it's similar to your addition process, right? So what is a multiplication? Multiplication is a repetitive of additions actually. So here we are trying to multiply the two images. While we are doing like this, what really happening? It try to improve the contrast of the image, or otherwise we can say, so this matrix multiplication is very very important, guys. See why we are says this is very important. While we are doing a ML algorithm, or while we are doing a deep learning concepts and all, each and every operation is we are performed simply the matrix multiplication, whatever the thing. While we are designing a filters also, it's simply the matrix multiplications. So transpose. So we all studied about this transpose and the determinant and the inverse operations, and but we don't know what is the actual, what is the natural application of this and where it's exactly utilized, right? So very key factor, this transpose, without this transpose, we can't effectively calculate a square. So this is my claim regarding this transpose, because while we are doing a ML algorithm, so the cost function manipulation is much important part, right? Based on this cost function only, we are trying to enhance the performance of the model so far. So this cost function manipulations, what is the cost function? Generally it is actually the errors. We can represent it as actual minus predicted value. Okay, so this is a natural cost function. So we are trying to reduce this cost function by increasing the training process, right? So in that process, the cost function equation is represented it as a actual minus predicted the whole square to avoid the negative values, right? In case of, while we are going to implement the same equation is going to implement in the Python or any software language, we have to use this transpose. Instead of doing a square, we always represented it as a into a transpose. Then only we can achieve the very fast transition or very fast manipulations are happened in the model or in the implementation code. We can see that. So far, how this transpose is actually it's actually worked. What is the exactly nature of the transpose? We have to know, right? So what is actually the transpose operations? It's actually interchanging the rows and columns of the matrices, right? So because of, while we are changing like this, you people are trying to manipulate this one. You take the column vector, okay, any column vector, okay, you try to multiply this two column vectors, or you try to calculate the square of the column vector, right? What you have to do, each and every element you have to square, you have to create the exponent, right? Instead of that, if you multiply a one row vector and one column vector, it naturally forms your a square. Okay, this is how we are utilizing this transpose for the fast manipulations, right? And moreover, this transpose is much without this transpose we can't do any operation in a CNN, because in the first footprint of the CNN is actually it's multiplying the weight values, right? So this weight value is actually processed or happened just because of the flipping dimensions. That filter is actually while we are multiplying with the images, right? I hope so many people are come across that particular technologies. So it trying to manipulate the images is actually multiplied, each and every portion is multiplied with our filters, right? We are striding the filters and we are multiplied each and everything. So this, while we are multiplying this operations, we have to flip our filter matrix. Then only we can manipulate the feature vectors from the images. So this is actually the evident point how the transpose is important in our machine learning application as well as the deep learning applications, right? So next is actually a determinant of matrix. So where this determinant of matrix is actually much important in our data analysis. So this is actually naturally this determinant, while we are identifying the determinant of a, from the school days onwards, we are solved so many problems regarding this, right? So we are trying to take a matrix and we are trying to identify the determinant of that particular matrix, but we don't know what is exactly that value represents. That value it represents, it's try to reflect the sensitivity of the data. So any raw data, if you calculate the determinant value of the raw data, it try to reflect a sensitivity of the particular data, it try to reflects the character of the particular raw data. From that character only we can easily designs the algorithm. Based on that we can design the algorithm, or otherwise we have to transform the data which is suited to our algorithm, so we can easily achieve the higher performance. Okay, this is how the determinant of matrix is much useful in our ML algorithms, right? So moreover, we can give this particular determinant value, it gives you the product of eigenvalue of the matrix. So participants, actually I try to elaborate this eigenvalues in the upcoming slides. I try to cover this particular part. Why? Because while I'm trying to take a dimensionality reduction, this eigenvalue plays a predominant role, right? So I hope so you people are come across that. I try to exploit in that particular scenario about this eigenvectors, right? Eigenvalues and the eigenvectors. So So this is how the representation. So here I am trying to representing the determinant of matrices. Let us consider the A matrices with the 3 cross 3 element A, B, C, D, E, F and G, H, I. We are trying to calculate the determinant value of A. This is actually the mathematical representation of your determinant of A. I hope so you people are know all those things. Why we are using a negative value, why we are using an alternative sign in that. So next is actually the inverse of matrix. So this inverse of matrix is a very important while we are dealing with the reversible operations. Whenever we require the reversible or irreversible operations, so what is the irreversible? We can't compute, that means we can't come back to the original states. But it is a reversible means it's come back to the original states. Am I right? Yeah. I hope so. So whenever we are doing in such a operations or such a applications, this inverse of matrix is very important. I try to explain this, the importance of inverse of matrices. So I personally realized that. So let us consider the scenario. I am in the point A, right? So I'm trying to transmit the image to point B, right? So what happened really? So between a point A and point B, where point A is going to act as a transmitter, whereas a point B is going to act as a receiver in this scenario, right? I try to transmit the image. Okay, I try to fetch the image. So and this image is going to reach our point B. How it actually going to a point B? It actually use the channel. Okay, it passes through the channel to reach the point B. What is really happening? I try to send the HD image from the point A, but I received in the point B. Actually, I received the blurred image. So why this blurred image is actually reached in the B? Because from the transmitter side, I sent it the very good quality image in the HD image, but in the receiver side, it received as a blurred image. It's just because what is actually the thing happened? Why the image getting blurred naturally? Because in some of the noise signal is added to your image, it's actually multiplied to your image. It forms the blurred image, right? Considering A is going to send the image it as I. Okay, the I is traveling in the channel. What is actually I am trying to say a channel? It's actually the path some information is conveying from the one point to another point. Okay, so while we are speaking the mobile phone, so mobile phone is we are using, so we are speaking through a mobile phone. The air is act as a channel. It takes our information and try to reach a destination part. Okay, right? So that is actually a channel. So in this case, what happened in the channel, some of the noise signal is getting multiplied with your image, so your image getting damaged. So and finally it reaches the point B. So what I am going to do now, I is multiplied with E, where I is a image, E is your noise signal. Consider it like that. Okay, so what I try to do to overcome this, or otherwise how to I enhance the image? It's once again it's a tedious process, right? What I am going to do now, just now I said image is nothing but a matrices. It's actually the 2D plane, right guys? So far I is actually I am considering I is multiplied with the E, where E is a noise representation. It is also in the form of 2D. Just now I said, while anything is, if you are doing in the matrices, both the things should be in the same degree. Okay, so we understand the degree of the second matrix, that is a noise matrix. It's similar to your, quite similar to your input image size. That am I right? Input image degree. So what I am going to do now, I am going to estimate the channel error. I am going to estimate the channel noise, right? So based on considering the so many factors, I am going to estimate the channel noise, and that estimated value is, I can say it as a E cap. E cap is a estimated value, right? So I am trying to multiply this E cap inverse to the original value. What is the original value? I into E is multiplied with the E cap inverse. So we already know what is the multiplication of A into A inverse. It's actually the identity matrix. Am I right? Yes, I hope so. So what really happened in this process? So this E into E cap inverse, whenever my estimated error is exactly equal to the channel error, what happened? this cancelled each other, it produces the identity matrix. Once if your image is multiplied with the identity matrix, it produces the same image. This is how the inverse of matrix it works actually. So we can say is the matrix of when multiplied with the inverse, it give us the identity matrices. This is how this property is we are utilized for removing the channel noise in our day-to-day life, right? So inverse, it's help us apply the transformations efficiently. This is what I told guys. So wherever we are doing some reversible process or irreversible process and all, this inverse of matrices plays a predominant role to bring it back into the original states, right? And some of the matrices does not have an inverse, which means that the information they holds it's not reliable and very noisy. So that is we can't, it's actually back we can't takes that particular value into the original position. That is we says that is a irreversible way or irreversible matrices. That is just because of the sparse matrices.
Suresh, it's Sridhar.
Yeah, tell me sir.
There are certain questions being given by our participants. Is it possible? Chat box they requested you. Is it possible to get along with it, please?
Yeah, no problem, sir.
From Prabhuram Nagarajan, got one doubt, sir, is asked you.
Just a minute, sir. Actually,
open it and check.
Yeah. Because I am in the slide presentation, actually, it's difficult for me to open.
You are not able to see. That's the reason it's just interpreted. Just you can take up this.
Actually, I am trying to take the chat box. So just a minute, sir. A into A transpose?
A into A transpose is not equal to A. So the participants require verification whether A into A transpose is equal to A square. And there's also a further doubt asking.
No, A into A transpose is actually, we can say is you consider a column vector. So you have to manipulate this value, then only we can realize what is really happening inside in it. If you take a column vector, if you consider a column vector 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, the same vector, if you apply a transpose, what is really happening? So it becomes a row vector, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4 is a row vector and 1, 2, 3, 4 as a column vector. If you multiply the value, it's similar to your A square. This is how we are utilizing the transpose in the case of while we are calculating the cost function in regression applications. Especially while I'm saying y minus y cap the whole square can be written it as y minus y cap into y minus y cap the whole transpose. I hope so I am answered the question.
And the second question is with regard to the storage that's required while processing A into A transpose. So there's a clarification regarding whether The direct multiplication requires more storage.
Is actually
or-
Siva Govinda Swami, right? Siva Govinda Swami is actually asked A into A transpose is equal to A square.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes, exactly. That is what I try to say. You take either a row vector or a column vector. During that process only, we can say how this transpose is actually mainly worked. I am not actually try to say while we are considering the plane, it is difficult. While you are considering as a vector, it is actually possible.
And the next question is, what
Yeah.
is the meaning of scalar value which we get after determinant? What does the scalar value indicate? So
Yeah,
what is the
it's actually representing the, or it reflecting, or it's we can say is that it is a kind of representation of eigenvalue or eigenvector representations. So that is what I try to say the second point in my presentation. I represented in the, maybe it's helpful for them to go through that. Yeah, it gives you the product of eigenvalues of the matrices. That is actually the determinant exploits. Why we are more concerned about the eigenvalues actually, while we are doing any image processing application, this eigenvalue plays a predominant role because we have to identify this eigenvalue. Then what is actually the eigenvalue represents? It represents the high variance portion or high variance features. Okay, this high variance only can help us to take some decisions. If you are having a data, if you are having some 10 samples, right? Consider like that. If all the 10 samples are same value, it is difficult to take a one decision, right? It is, we can't exploit that particular data to do some process. If suppose we are having a 10 different values, we can exploit that particular data into some process. So from that determinant, we can say is right, the trivial solution, non-trivial solution, we can exploit that particular things. That is what I try to say, that sensitivity of the data is we can identify it by using the determinant.
so further, if the determinant is equal to 0, what does it mean?
Where it is actually. So chat box is I am trying to take actually.
No issues. I'm just reading the questions for you. So the participants require further clarifications, like when the determinant value is 0, what does the system indicate? So what do we interpret or what do we infer from that?
Okay, I will try to show the even an image representation for that.
Your window is now currently pointing to a Chrome browser. You're
Actually,
not
I am in the I am now in the chat box.
okay.
So when the determinant of matrix is 0, right? That is the question, right?
So we were telling about the importance or the significance of determinant. So similarly, when the determinant becomes 0, what does it signify?
So it actually says that the volume of the region, so whatever the portion we are considering, actually the portion of the image is actually the matrix representation, right? I hope so he understood that. So that particular, the volume of the region with the side given by its a column or a row is 0, which means that the matrix is considered as a transformation, takes the basis vector into the vector. So that are linearly dependent on the defined 0 volumes. It's very, we can simply say it is a non-invertible one.
Okay. There's another question which says existence of matrix inverse is not verified. The question says existence of matrix inverse is not verified.
Where it is actually? I'm not getting into the question exactly.
No issues. Rupak Bhattacharya.
Yeah.
So could you please elaborate the question? So like existence of matrix inverse is not verified. Like in this case, like could you please explain the question more?
In case of taking a matrix inverse, while transposing a matrix, element is transposed to A1 to position means meanwhile vice versa takes place. Hence, it requires a temporary variable to store. So far, a big dimension matrices will it cost more in storage than a direct A star A itself. So what is a better solution that A into A transpose? See, this A into A transpose, how we are effectively utilizing this scenario actually, whenever we are exposed into the cost representation, whenever we are going to exploit in the cost value calculations, in the optimization algorithm, or it may be in the gradient descent algorithm, or it may be in the residual sum of square calculations part, we are concerned about the A into A transpose. So here we are not exploit the plain value, because while we are doing in the plain value, we have to concern some operations. That means we have to know where A is equal to A transpose or not. Under this scenario only, it actually manipulates. Otherwise, it is not possible.
So which means when we're having a column vector, A into A transpose stands good.
Yeah. So not
Yes.
a column vector. In such a way, we are utilizing in the machine learning algorithm. We are not going to concern about the 2D plane, where the 2D plane is A is equal to A transpose or not. We are not actually seeing that part. So this transpose is mainly we are used for the column vector representation in the RSS calculation. Shall we continue the session?
Yeah, Suresh, you can continue your session. Let us see.
Yeah, so whether
Sir, we'll
participant is
share the
actually
books,
okay
sir.
with the.
We'll share the books and we'll share the link for linear algebra concepts, sir. Sure.
Yeah, fine. No, whether he is actually convinced or not, I can't.
Yes, sir.
No, let us take it up. Let us take it up at the end of the session, because
Yeah,
now it's 10:20. The session
yeah,
should be
sure, sir.
winded by 11. That's it.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. See, whatever the questions you people are having at last end of the session, I try to explain all those things, and and also I try to give the reference link for that particular topic, right? And moreover, while what are all the concepts I am trying to elaborate here, everything is I'm trying to map while we are doing the implementation process, right? During the implementation, I will show how we are using this operations in the, during the ML algorithm implementation, right? Where actually I lived.
This is the place. This is the place, I think.
Yeah, okay, sir. Yeah, I hope so. So this is actually the inverse matrix. So this is how the inverse helps us to apply the transformation efficiently. Just now we are saying the exact example where we are using the inverse of matrices, right? So while we are designing a filters, so just simply concern about the filter, it's simply E is the error, E inverse is actually the estimated error, right? E is multiplied with the E inverse, it produces the identity matrix. While you are multiply the identity matrix with the original matrix, that means it's the identity matrix, its a value is 1. We are concerned it as a 1. So 1 is multiplied with the anything, it produces the same, right? This is how the manipulations are happen. In that way, we are utilizing so many properties of matrices. So to better way, we can eliminate the values, right? If time permits, I will show the reference and all, right? Okay, so the implementation of Wiener filters. If you people also, if you are more interested in that, you try to show see the Wiener filter implementations, right? Yeah, for a image enhancement operations, right? So this is how the linear algebra matrices operation. So the matrices actually supports to do a multiplication, all the arithmetic operations, as well as it actually supports the inverse operation, it supports the flipping operation, and moreover we can try to calculate the inverse of the particular matrices A. Participants, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. So yes. So this is actually the vector as a matrices. So vectors can be easily translated to matrix. Am I right? So if we are takes the vector, we can easily transform that that particular vector to the matrix format. Okay, while we are multiplied with the some dimensions, while we are playing something, we can easily manipulate or we can easily transforms that vector to the matrices formations. Okay, so in that formations we can say the well-known operations and all, that scaling operation, rotation operation, and shearing operations. So this operation where we are seeing in a day-to-day life, and while I hope so everyone is actually using a Photoshop, right? In the Photoshop we are used all this scaling operation, rotation operation, shearing operations of the images. Okay, while the scaling operation it try to improve the contrast of the particular images, whereas a rotation it try to just simply we can say is the rotating or flipping the images. In our computer also we are having an option rotate clockwise, rotate anti-clockwise, while we are using some applications like Adobe Reader or some other thing. So how it's actually doing, it consider that is actually in the case of a system, in the case of a algorithm, it's actually the image. So we are applying the rotation matrix into that and we are manipulating it, that, and after we are manipulated it projected in the some different angles. Okay, that is how the operations are happen. We will see how this transformations are happen. Look at here, some of the operations we are represented, how the operations are performed in our day-to-day life. Just now I said whatever the representation, the plain representation we are seeing here, you just think it of in the form of an image, so it is easy for us to interpret the concept, right? So this is how we are identifying the shearing, and this is how we are identifying the rotation, and this is how we are manipulating the scaling operations on the image. So here we are assuming the 2 cross 2 matrices. Either it may be a n cross m. Yeah. So now we are really comes into the picture how the ML algorithm is especially utilizing all these concepts. What are all the concepts we are discussed right now? How this is actually works, where it exactly works during the implementation of ML algorithm. Let us see. This is a this block diagram is actually holds good for entire ML algorithm applications, guys. So why we say like that? Look at this particular block diagram. It representing the entire life cycle, design life cycle of the machine learning algorithm. Look at here how we are started this process. We takes the training data from the data warehouse. That is actually we can say it is a raw data. Normally raw data is we are not exposed into the model directly because the raw data is not having the proper information, or we can say is that raw data is can't handled by your ML algorithm. So we have to, as an engineer, we have to design the we have to exploit the data in such a way it is suited for our further processing. Am I right? So far what we have to do, we have to extract the potential features from the raw data, the meaningful information from the raw data. After we are extracting the meaningful information, it may be a 1,000 features, it may be a 10,000 features, so the whatever it is, right? So that many samples are we are extracted from the training data, that is we are fed into the ML model. So what is really happening here, the ML model accepts all the data, right? So now for the purpose for the today's session, actually we are having a Traxi prediction, right? So prediction is actually the regression applications, right? So this model is I am going to consider as a regressor. Okay, so the ML model is I am going to consider the regression application. So what is the operation of a regression? It try to predict my it try to forecast or predict my target value, right? It accepts the input value that is actually your independent variable. This inputs, this features is actually the independent variable, whereas y is a target value, it is a dependent variable. What is exactly the independent and dependent? So the value of x, it varies, or it may be the scale up operations, so whatever that's happened, it not depends on any other values. Whereas in the prediction operation, or the target variable is actually having a linear relationship with your independent variable, right? That is why we says y is a dependent variable, whereas x is a independent variable. So model accepts the independent variable. It try to identify the patterns in the features. So we can say is the model learns from the experience. So inductive learning is happening in this process actually. Okay. So once it actually learned the process, it consider this model is a regressor. It produces a y cap. That is your predicted value. That is your target value, right? In a regression operation, your input is actually either it may be you consider it as a always the input is so many cases it is a discrete, whereas a y is a continuous. So it's a simple linear regression I am considering. What is the kernel of the simple linear regression? It's a straight line. We are predicting the values in the form of straight line. So because it is easy for easy to understand the concepts, that's why I'm considering the simple linear regression. So what is a target value representation? Y equal to mx plus c, right? Everyone know that. So what is the mx plus c? It is a representation of the line where m is a slope of the data x, whereas c is the offset value of your data x, right? So far, so it predicts the value of y, and this value, this predicted value is it's actually reached the real world. Okay, this is how the top operations are happened in your ML algorithm. Okay, so we have to know what is a another operation is, it's actually two operations is happened in your algorithms, right? So in the model, we can say it is a model. So why we are having a two operations in the first phase, it actually trains, it takes the error from the predicted value. Okay, based on the error, it actually back propagates such a error to the original model. Based on the error, it try to fix the model. It try to fix the coefficient which is presented in the model to fit for your real-time data. That is your features, right? This is how the real operation is happened in your ML algorithm. Okay, so we are actually I try to cover this portion in the different way. Okay, so why I'm more concentrating on the top portion actually. What are all the operations we are discussed right now? It's everything is happening here. Okay, so what is the feature extraction? It's a raw data. It's actually the feature extraction in most of the cases. In most of the, because so many software solutions are available right now to implement the ML algorithms, right? So especially the Pythons, they are following the Pythons. In the Python, we are having the frameworks and all. So so yesterday the introduction sessions, you people are actually exposed. So you people are know that each and every features are arranged in the column vectors. Am I right? So we are having in the, so if you look at the vectors, the total vector, it looks like a matrices. Am I right? It looks like a matrices once again. So that many number of vectors is actually given as an input for your model. Okay, so your model is going to do some manipulations and it produces the output y. Okay, so that is why I am trying to manipulate here. So here the entire matrix operation is we are concerned while we are giving the data, the proper data into your model. Okay, so this is what we are right now mapped. Okay, so I trying to map with the application. Here I am going to predict the house price prediction. Okay, consider the application like that. Okay, so house price prediction, what is actually the role of house price prediction? We have to predict the value, we have to predict the price of the house. Okay, if you are a buyer or if you are a seller, anyhow you have to predict. Okay, so buyer want to know what about the cost of the price, the cost of the house. Am I right? So seller have to know how much cost is I have to sold my house. Okay, fine. So both the way, both the end, we need this kind of prediction. Okay, so how what about the prediction, how it should be? That means how pure it is. If you are wrongly estimated, what happened? Yeah, either suppose if you are going to, if you are a seller, okay, consider you are a seller. So if you are wrongly predicted a price, what happened? The two ways possible. Either you are underestimated the value or you are overestimated the value. Both the thing is actually a problem in the house price prediction applications. If it is underestimated, it's actually loss for your house. Am I right? So because it may be a 10 lakhs the market price, you are predicted it as a 8 lakhs. 2 lakhs is actually a loss for maybe if any engineering students is actually predicted, it's a loss for that particular person daddy. Am I right? So far, if suppose you are overestimated, what happened? If the market price is a 10 lakh, if you are predicted as a 15 lakh, what happened actually? So you will not get a proper offers. Okay, nobody can connect with you to buy a house. Okay, that is actually the problem. So how we have to fix the price? That's actually the ML algorithm plays a major role. Okay, so far we are takes the proper features from the particular data. Okay, house data. So this house data is
So
how
just
we
a
are.
minute, sir.
Yeah.
Hello. Participants want a clarification between what is the ML model here and what is the ML algorithm here. We have
Yes,
a ML
exactly.
model.
Yes, exactly. See, here actually I try to, okay, fine. I try to complete this diagram. Then he get the proper answer for the question. Okay. I will try to complete the diagram. Okay. So, okay. So far, what is really happening in the training data, it actually takes the raw information. What about the raw information? It may be about your house. How many so how we are actually buying a house, we have to concern what are all the things we have to concern while you are buying a house. How many rooms are available, how many, what about the renovate year, and what about the area where it is exactly presented, and what about the people in and around the surroundings. What about the surrounding, that means a landmark area. All those things we are concerned. Am I right? Maybe while we are going to purchase a house in Ananagar, Chennai, so it may be a 1 crore. The same house, the same scenarios is present in the somewhere, the price is less. So what feature is actually impact here? The impact is the in and around the area. That in and around the area, it's actually impact. So likewise, we have to choose the features, right? So that feature is going to given in your ML model, where ML model is nothing but your mathematical model. It's actually sitting inside in the particular algorithm. So this is what here we are considering a regression. Okay, so y equal to mx plus c is actually sitting in this model. Okay, so what is really happening? So what is exactly we have to do in the regression operation? We have to calculate the two value. One is a slope and another one is a uh, intercept value. Am I right? That is what we have to predict in your linear, simple linear regression, right? So what I am going to do now, I accept all the values. I try to train the model. Okay, I try to train the model by using the data, and I am going to fix the some value for m and some value for c. Okay, initially. Okay, initially I try to fix the values. Okay, in the first iteration, consider as a first iteration. Okay, so while we are fixing a first iteration, what happened? So if suppose once if you are fixed the some values, we have to iterate, right? We are giving so many data, right? So we are trying to predict the output, the target price. Okay, once if you are predicted, what you have to do, you try to take the predicted value and you try to take the actual value from the data warehouse. You have to calculate the quality metric. Any algorithm, any ML algorithm, you have to follow the steps, right? So if it is a classifier, you have to take the classified output and the original class output. So here it is a regression. That's why I take the predicted value, because already we know in the regression part, output is continuous, right? We takes the y value and we takes the actual value for the point. Okay, we calculate the error. So what is the error calculation? It's a actual minus predicted the whole square. Okay, just now I said where exactly that transpose works. So this part only that calculation works. So this quality metric, it's calculate the cost function. Okay, so we can say it is a here in this example, I consider the residual sum of square, right? That is actually the summation I is equal to n, where n is a total number of samples. It's just given it as a y minus y cap the whole square, where y is actually the actual value, y cap is a predicted value. Okay, this is the quality metric equation, or we can say it is a residual sum of square value, right? So after we are calculated the error, we are simply passed to the algorithm. What algorithm does? So what is actually sitting in the algorithm, right? So that is we have to know. So what is exactly sitting in the algorithm? In the algorithm, it's something like some optimizers or some kind of updations are happened here, because here the m and the c value is actually decided. Based on that m and c value, it produces the output. Okay, maybe that output is not suited with your actual value. What happened, which means the scenario is y cap is actually lesser than your y, or it may be greater than your y. Okay, so during that time only your quality metric produce the error. So that error it accepts by the algorithm. In our case, what I am trying to do now, I try to use the gradient descent algorithm. Okay, so this algorithm accepts the error. So this is what I try to say, it is a back propagation. We are propagating the errors once again into the model. Okay, the algorithm accepts the error, and it calculates the gradient value, that means the rate of changes. So based on the convex and concave function, the optimizer function, either it may use a convex or it may use the concave. So this is what we have to, I try to map the mathematical concepts, guys. In the ML algorithm, actually the calculus, the variant calculus plays a major role, because here we are using a partial differential equation. Okay, why we are using a partial differential equation? This is actually, this y cap is actually produced by the total ML model, right? That is y equal to mx plus c. So in that case, we are having a two coefficient. Intercept is a one coefficient, slope is another coefficient. So two coefficients are presented. Okay, so this error is actually produced by the two coefficient. We have to update the coefficient one at a time. That is actually possible. Okay, so if the two variable is presented, only one thing is responsible for the rate of change operation, means we have to go for the partial differential equation. I hope so. Am I right? Yes. So what we are going to do now, each and every time we try to manipulate, or we try to update the m value, c value based on the gradient descent algorithm. In the gradient descent algorithm, we are setting so many hyperparameters, guys. So in that we are setting a step sizes, and we are trying to take them. That means that step size is nothing but a learning rate. Okay, and we can say how many epochs, how many times we are hydrating the models, and what about the batch size of the data. So many hyperparameters are actually involved in the algorithm, right? So right now you try to understand one thing. Some error is coming from the output side. Okay, so error is actually calculated in this yellow box. That yellow box is actually giving it to the gray color box. That is actually why I say it is a box, because I am trying to open that box. That's why I say it is a box. Okay, fine. So here this actually accepts that that values by using the partial differential calculation. It try to estimates the proper, or it try to update the proper w and sorry m and c value. Okay, once it estimated function, it try to so what is actually estimation function? We are updating the values, right? Because here we are having a m old and c old. So here it is a estimated function. It, this estimated is trying to fit from the data. It's actually estimated function. It's actually fit from the data. Okay, so it try to give here. So the model coefficient value is once again updated. So model is nothing but your mathematical equation is sitting here. Your algorithm is actually stepwise, some sequence wise, we are trying to update the coefficients which is responsible for producing the output, which is presented in your model. Okay, that is what is actually happening in the block diagram. I hope so. I answered so many questions. I don't know whether you're
So the difference is clearly understood, sir.
yeah. Okay, yeah. So yeah, This is how it's really happening in the regression algorithm, or not only a regression, any ML algorithm. If you take any ML algorithm, this is a procedure, this is a way of approach, this is a life cycle of the ML algorithm. This is how it actually works, right? I hope so everyone clear about this. So any part, any project, if you are going to work, you try to remember this block diagram. Okay, you try to follow this block diagram. So right now, I hope so. So many questions are evolved in your mind actually. So what are all the questions actually? What kind of quality metrics we have to use? What about what kind of ML algorithms we have to use? Either we have to use a convex function or a concave function. How we are actually estimated the updated values, and which way actually we have to estimate the updated values? Because it is a simple linear regression, we can easily update the two values. In some other algorithms, it has so many hyperparameters. How we are going to update? Everything is actually happened, whatever the operations, it's actually followed in the simple linear regression. The same way, the only one thing is the dimension of the data gets increased. That's it. The operation is quite similar what we are seeing in our simple linear regression, right? So actually, I am not presenting the simple linear regression. I try to map the mathematical concept in the machine learning application. That's why I actually presented the block diagram, or otherwise I try to put all the equations, and I explores all the mathematical concept exactly. Okay, anyhow, fine.
So there's a question, sir.
Yeah.
Is it mandatory to perform gradient descent algorithm in every algorithms? That is in the ML algorithm part. Is it mandatory to perform gradient descent for every algorithm?
So not every algorithm. It's actually depends on your what kind of model you are used, and what kind of approach you are followed, and what about your data. The one important thing regarding your model, it's entire thing. It's about your data. What kind of data we are used. Okay. For time being, actually, most of the cases gradient descent is used. That is how I try to say. Okay. Most of the algorithms, they are using the gradient descent. In some of the algorithms, some of the non-parametric things, actually the base algorithms and all, here in there we are not using a gradient descent actually for the updation, because it actually works based on the probability methods. Okay, in that way we can't update at the any parameters actually, right? That is actually whatever I am telling, the base model. Okay. So one thing you have to understand, most of the algorithms, the updations, the optimization is happened through a gradient descent.
So
In
there's
that
another
gradient,
question.
Hmm.
How gradient descent chooses the direction to move? How gradient descent chooses the direction to
Yeah,
move?
exactly.
And
See, for answer for this particular question, I try to change my session actually, because so many mathematical concepts are there inside the gradient descent. Okay. First of all, I try to explain the convex function, concave function. Okay. And then I try to map where we are exactly calculating a dy by dx, right? So what is exactly dy by dx? How we are manipulating the global minima value. Okay, I try to explain right now. Okay, so if you are follow my instruction, you can easily understood. Okay, consider we are having a convex function. Okay, if a convex function, it looks like a parabola structures, right? Okay, consider like that. So what is really we have to do, our algorithm try to reach the global minima. So where exactly presented in your parabola, only one point is we are having a global minima, right? So the error may be presented in the right hand side, or it may be a left hand side. Okay, so what we have to do, if it is a left hand side, so it is the feedback is given to your model understand, okay, this many error is there, so this many number of distance is actually there, I have to jump, I have to reduce the error. So far I try to update my theta, that means coefficient values. Okay, if suppose your error is actually under the global minimum, means you need to add the value, you need to increase the value. Am I right? The existing coefficient you have to increase. If suppose your error is present in the next side, that means your right hand part, which means it exceeds the global minima, what you have to do, you have to do the reverse operation. That means you have to subtract the value, right? So this addition and subtraction, it's take care by the gradient descent, because in the gradient descent
So,
formula,
so just a minute, I'm sharing my screen, sir. Just a minute.
yeah.
I think it should be better for you now.
Yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, this is how the gradient descent algorithm works. This is the, we can say it as a exactly what the convex function and the concave function. Okay, so this is actually the concave function. Okay, it looks like a cave. Okay, in such a way, I remembered that. Okay, so in the convex function, kindly go to the convex function, because just now I explained about that. I try to map with the convex function. Yes. So this is how the convex function looks like. This is actually the parabola structure. Right now I said, go to the previous slide. Go to the previous slide. No. Comes down. The separating, yeah. This one, this slide. Go to one slide up. Yeah, this one. Yeah, this is what we required. This is what I said. So this is actual our global minima of the function, right? So we have to identify, once if we reach this point, so we can say we are reduced the errors, right? So how we are identifying this point? Actually, slide is actually changed.
Is it fine?
Yeah, right now it is okay. So how we are actually doing this one? This is actually rate of changes. This point is present here. It try to move, right? It try to accelerate. We have to move, right? So how this acceleration happen? Just because of your rate of change equation. It's actually d of g of w divided by dw, where g of w is nothing but your fit function. Okay, just now actually, I hope so. In that diagram also, I said a fit function. I wrote the word, it's a fit function. Okay, so based on the rate of changes, if this value is presented under, okay, this value is lesser than 0, what you have to do, you have to increase the coefficient values. If it is a greater, if it exceeds this value, if it is a greater, you have to reduce the values. So how this is really happening? It's just because of this minus. This minus take care of all those things. So this is my weight value. It's nothing but your coefficient. Here we are considering it as a slope value. So how the slope value is actually we are updated? The old value minus eta into the updation dg divided by dw. Okay, the differentiation function. Okay, this is actually we have to use the partial differential if we are going into the higher regression type, because here actually in this step itself we have to do a partial differential, because we have to update two values. Okay, two w values. One is a slope and another one is an intercept, right? So we have to go for a partial differential equation while we are going into the original approach. So what happened if this value is lesser than 0, this value is also negative, right? If this differentiation is lesser than 0, the point is present here. This value itself, it is negative. So negative and negative become positive and your coefficient is actually added. This is what I told. So it is actually updated and it comes here. It try to reach here. Okay. Whereas if suppose it is presented as a positive, it's actually present here. Suppose your point is present here, your error is present here. It try to reach a global minima. You have to do a reverse process. We have to subtract the coefficient value. Once if you subtract the coefficient value, we are reducing shrink the coefficient value, the points comes down. So this is the actual operation of optimizer. This is the algorithm which is sitting in the ML algorithm. In that one, we are using a multiple calculus. That is what I am trying to map. Kindly go through the slides one by one. I try to map all the mathematical operations. Go to the cost function evaluation. This is how it is actually traveled. If suppose the step size is we are fixed as a longer step size, what happen? So consider the scenario. I am going to drop a ball here. Okay. If I am going to drop a ball, what happen? The ball comes down. Okay. In this particular position, it not exactly reaches this global minima. It goes there, and it oscillates some time, and then it reaches a global minima. So this is a impact while we are using the bigger step size, right? Yeah. And so many scenarios we have to concern, whether we have to fix the fixed step size, whether we have to go with the cyclic step size, whether we have to set the that means decaying step size. That is everything is we have to concern. Okay. So so kindly go to the one by one, actually, from the top to bottom.
From regression starting or from optimization?
No, go to the cost function evaluation.
Is it okay from here, sir?
Yeah, cost function evaluation. Residual, sum of residual slide.
Is it okay from here?
No, it comes down, directly comes to the RSS. I try to map that
Yeah.
RSS.
So here,
Yeah, comes down. Yeah, this is what I try to map. So previous slide. This is what I try to map. So what is actually our residual, sum of residual value? It is actual value minus, this is a predicted definition. Just simply the straight line equation, y equal to mx plus c. Instead of mc, we are using a w0 and w1. It's a coefficient values. So w0 is an intercept, but w1 is a slope of the x data. Okay. So y minus, this is a y predicted equation, the whole square. This is how we are utilizing the residual function. So this is actually the 1D vector. Okay, while we are subtracting, you get a 1D vector. So you have to take a transpose, and if you multiply that, you get a square terms. So instead of squaring the value, we have to use the transpose in the effective manner. I hope so. That slide is also presented in case of while we are doing a higher order regressions, while we are concerned with the multiple linear regression, polynomial regressions and all, in that particular derivation itself, they are considered as a into A transpose. I hope so I answered the question. Actually, this is not our session. I try to take this algorithm to map with our mathematical concepts. That is why actually I skipped the entire explanation. But I thought one of the principle, that means the prediction applications is given in the particular topic. That's why without knowing anything about the regression, if you see the application, it's quite difficult to understand. That's why I try to connect this regression part with the mathematical concepts. If you people are actually really want the explanation regarding the simple linear regression, try to post in the chat box. I try to take a complete operation about the simple linear regression, right? It's not an issue. Shall I continue the slides?
Sir, yes, sir, you may continue.
Suresh,
Yeah.
Suresh,
I am in the slides.
Suresh, you can be in the slides. The thing here is by 11 o'clock. At least
sir,
if you take a time correctly,
yeah, sure, sir, no problem, sir.
so that they can take a break and they can come back by 11:30.
Yeah,
so that
no problem,
by
sir.
1 o'clock they can finish it.
Yeah, fine.
Just maintain a time, please.
Okay, fine. Okay, you just post in the chat box. If you people are needed a simple linear regression, I will try to cover from the starting onwards to the end of the particular simple linear regression. I hope so. You people are enjoyed how the simple mathematical concepts which is utilized in the machine learning algorithm designs, and how effectively this operations are actually utilized to design a ML algorithm in the efficient way to reach the real world in the better manner, right? So okay, so after the break, we will just continue this particular slides, and then we try to move on to the naive Bayes classifiers. In that thing, we are trying to cover maximum the 4 different applications. That is how the text classifications are happen, and how the spam not spam is actually classified, and how the actual the text processing is happened, how the sentiment analysis is actually done by using a naive Bayes classifiers and all. We will see in the upcoming sessions, right? If you people are need any explanation regarding a simple linear regression, or if you people are like to explain that means if you people are need about the simple linear, the explanation about the simple linear regression, you just kindly post in the chat box. I will surely text the session from the starting point to the end of the simple linear regression, right? Along with the implementation. Fine. Thank you guys. After the break, we will see.
So participants will be meeting you back by 11:30.